Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Clinton Region Business Roundtable. This is November 2020 edition. We're coming up on the Thanksgiving holiday, and we wanted to bring two subject matter experts in to talk about apprenticeships. So today I have with me Mr. David Ottavianelli. David has spent the majority of his career in manufacturing leadership roles and now works on strategic workforce talent pipeline projects to support the long-term manufacturing workforce needs at John Deere as well as the entire region. We also have Mr. Scott Ellsworth. He is the principal and owner of Scott Ellsworth Consulting and Sherpa Management Solutions. As a contractor to Jobs for the Future, he works to more fully engage employers in developing and implementing effective apprenticeship programs and driving greater inclusion of all populations in the workforce. My name is Andy Sokolovich. I serve as the Vice President of Economic Development for the Clinton Regional Development Corporation, and we're excited to have these two subject matter experts with us today. We try to keep all of our presentations very conversational and open, so this is a virtual presentation. It is being recorded. The replay will be made available at a later date. However, Microsoft Teams does have a cool little feature where you can click the little chat bubble up there in the top right-hand corner of your screen, and you can also click the little raise hand icon. One will allow you to type in the chat. The other one will notify me as the facilitator that you have a question for either David or Scott. Or to make it even easier, if you want to, unmute yourself. Just talk on the mic and ask your questions. That's the easiest way to keep this party going. So I'm going to go ahead and be quiet. I want to thank you for joining us. I'll turn it over to David Ottavianelli first. David, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, Andy, thanks a lot. Can you see my full screen? I want to check with you first. Not in presentation mode, but no, I mean in presentation mode. Are we good?
I can, sir. Yes, full screen.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Hey, everyone, thanks for giving us this opportunity. We think we want to share with you an awesome opportunity for you, small businesses in the Clinton region, to gain a sustainable talent pipeline. Joining me today is also going to be James Hotchkiss. James is one of our employees in our factory at our Davenport Works, a United Auto Workers member also, and he actually has led these programs and integrates the students into our factories, and he's going to help share some of these experiences with you today. Our intent today here is just to show you a business perspective of high school sponsored student apprenticeship programs. What I plan to do is just give you a quick overview of why we're doing this, what led us to this, and really what we've learned and how you can do this and talk through any potential action items or questions that you may have as we go through this. And I know Scott will add in some comments as we go forward. Feel free to interrupt here, ask questions, make sure that we have them as we go through this presentation. So just like any other the first thing that we had to do was, hey, make a decision on, hey, what are we really trying to do over the long term? So about a year and a half ago, we conducted a study that looked at a number of different aspects, really our current population of our employees throughout our factories here at John Deere, throughout the Midwest, and then a number of different factors of the local area, and then matched it up against our long-term demands to include, including retirements, projected increases in product lines, etc. with all that. And in quick terms, what it said was, hey, if we don't do anything different over the long term, we're going to have trouble in the Quad Cities, for instance, hiring welders, technicians, machinists, and trainable. So we have to do something different. And really what came out of this were two main action items. One, how do we increase the student candidate pipeline? And two, military transition programs. So I'm not going to cover that today, but we're gaining a lot of momentum on that area also. The first action item was purely driven by that study that said, hey, there are currently today in the population a candidate pool that has completed their high school diploma but has not gone on to complete a 4-year degree, and we feel that's a candidate pipeline path that equals potential employment opportunities in our factories in these types of roles. The critical element of all this is really talking to students early, right? How do we go through this candidate pipeline and this student pipeline and understanding and establishing that relationship early with them. James leads also our community outreach team and really starts talking to students. And James, what was the number last year or over the last 16, 18 months? You know, to include COVID, right? We've made some changes to all that. How many students have you been able to talk to?
You're still
There we
muted
go.
there,
Nope,
James.
had to unmute. Sorry. 20,000 presentations to students.
20,000.
Yes, 20,000.
Wow.
20,000 students, right, that you've talked
Yes,
to?
just students. That doesn't include some of the other events we've had for the public. Those were targeted to students.
And the one thing yeah, awesome work, James. And really what we've done and what we're seeing, Andy and team, is that we're shifting this paradigm about students having to go only to a four-year degree. We're no longer seeing that. We're no longer even talking about it. We understand on the bottom of this graph, there are multiple career path opportunities for students. And all we're doing is introducing them early to those career paths and give them some opportunities to complete that through a series of milestones. Now, this takes a partnership with key stakeholders. And the three key stakeholders are your high schools, community colleges, and your local businesses. And really to consider all options for students. So inside the red elements, that introductory work-based learning, that's where that community outreach team talks about career fairs, coming in and doing factory tours or doing parent night teacher kind of overviews of manufacturing. And then that in-depth work-based learning element in red, we're going to focus now on apprenticeships and what that means. And everything that I talk about here in high school student registered apprenticeship programs is a sponsored high school program. John Deere does not sponsor this, but we are a business partner in this, and that's what we're seeking out today. Clinton High School has a sponsored high school student apprenticeship program for welding, and they are seeking business partners to help with the work-based learning element of that during the apprenticeship program. Any questions on the study and or our top action items? Okay, so really what we're looking at here, and this was based upon an Iowa STEM Council Governor's Office best practice set up by Pella in Vermeer. They have a playbook on this, but general terms, the freshman and sophomore year, those students will just take their core high school courses and some electives. They'll start focusing on those specific skills that they're looking at for welding, in this case, where they'll get their dual credit or their industrial welding courses their junior year. Between their summer, between their junior and senior year, they'll start that initial work-based learning / training event. Their senior year, they typically spend half the day at school and half the day at work. And then post-graduation, I have 1 year, but it's typically about 800 hours, maybe 600 hours, so it may be as less as half a year to help them complete their program. These are Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs. They're competency-based, but they do have a minimum hours, in this case for welding, minimum hours of 2,000 hours to accomplish that certificate. Why this is so attractive and why we see the students continue to outnumber the business opportunity is here. You can see here the listing of the products that the students get. In addition to their high school diploma, they're getting general career readiness. They're working, they're getting paid, they're understanding the behavioral competencies required to this. They get their welding certificate, apprentice certificate, and they also get dual credits in conjunction with the community college to start building their associate's degree. So John Deere, and in conjunction with Davenport Schools and North Scott Schools, so John Deere with 3 other business partners, so 4 local business partners total, started a pilot program that encompassed 9 high school juniors from those 2 schools in May of 2019. We did a signing day. You can see here the pictures. You can see here some comments from the students. The one thing that we totally underestimated that was amazing to see was the impact on the parents, right? So the parents, it was like we were signing a NFL signing day. They were so excited for this, and it's been a great opportunity since. So we've learned a lot from this, and we're going to get into some of these lessons learned here, and I'll have James help me out with some of this.
Hey, David, real quick, we did something very similar here in Clinton. So our business partner right now is JT Cullen, coincidentally enough, over on the Illinois side of the river, providing welding operations for it's large metal fabrication, but they have one of our apprentices, and we did the same thing at signing day. And I'll just echo what you said. Mom and Dad were thrilled that Junior decided to go off and pursue an education in welding and seek an apprenticeship. So kudos to you for doing something like this. Scott, I did see you had your hand raised real quick before we let David continue.
Yeah, David, I wanted to ask you to talk a little about, because as I do work around the country, I hear this concern from employers all the time. You're talking about kids who are juniors going into their senior year. They're probably, 16, 17 years old?
Yep.
How are you getting around the whole idea of hiring somebody who's under the age of 18 and all of the fears that manufacturers have? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you answer that.
We're going to answer it in 2 slides.
Oh, I'm trying to steal your thunder. Sorry about that.
Great question, though.
No, it's the number one concern we hear from businesses.
Right.
And it was the number one concern we had. I'll cover that in 2 slides. Bear with me. Okay.
All right. I'll let you go.
All right. Okay. So let me. So just in general terms, so you're understanding how it works and how it started here. Once again, we had 6 of the 9 students at John Deere. They were at our Davenport Works facility, which is just north of Highway 80. There are 3 phases of the employment. You can see here I have phase 1, 2, and 3 is what we called it. And we brought them in as a summer part-time student. We did 11-week job shadow training plan, continued that on. And then phase 3, upon graduation, there's multiple options, and we'll explain that. And really just the business requirement on this is to complete their certification on this. If you're a business on this call, the administration to support this is very minimal. All the tracking, all the different elements of this are really held in the responsibility of the school. And really, we're asking just for the business to focus on this work-based learning element of this. So we had tons of lessons learned here. And really, the first thing that we found was that company-student match is important, right? A lot of kids have different expectations about hours that they can work and different things they want to do. So understanding that, and that's part of the hiring process. Scott, here is your question, and we'll show you this in detail. This helped us answer a lot of questions from our HR policy. So the John Deere HR policy prior to this program said you must be 18 years or older to work at John Deere. And if you look at the details, specifically Child Labor Law 101, it allows students, in this case, up to under the age of 18, but older than 16, to work in businesses as long as they're part of a Department of Labor registered apprenticeship program. So we actually got that approved and changed our HR 101 policy at John Deere. I'm sure it hadn't been changed in a long time, but now it includes that. And we had a lot of questions about insurance also. And we meet with insurance professionals, and we met internally with our insurance professionals, and they said there's no impact or no change to this with that. So there are 2 exceptions on the students before they get 18. They cannot drive motorized vehicle for in your factory under this Child Labor Law 101, and they cannot operate hoists. So we found ways to overcome that until they turn 18. And then once they turn 18, we can actually certify them on that, etc. with that. So I'm going to let James talk for a little bit about the other lessons learned from current employees to how the students are doing. James, go ahead.
All right, thanks, David. So yeah, David told you about the HR policies and stuff, but some of the other questions, the current employees, would current employees allow these students to come to the floor? Like David said earlier, I am a UAW member. A lot of people thought this would never happen. When David came to us and said, hey, we're looking at this apprenticeship program, we said, absolutely no way. Then when he came back and said, yeah, in 3 weeks this apprenticeship program starts, we said, okay, let's get serious and let's figure out how to make this work. It was amazingly simple. We went out to the floor, we talked to some key people, some more vocal union members. They were ecstatic. And we started wondering, why are you so ecstatic? Well, they realized that if we ever want to retire, we have to have replacements. We cannot retire and continue to get our benefits that we've negotiated if there's nobody to take our spot. The other things my fellow employees realized, we all have kids. We have grandkids, we have nieces, nephews, friends with kids. If we don't start doing these things, those kids will not have the opportunity to come to our jobs. So the current employees, they welcome this. Not only do they welcome this, they excelled at it. Not to bore you with a lot of information, but John Deere does something where we help seed or offset the delays or impact on our wages if something major is going on. We were fully expected to help offset the delay in the pay plans with these students hitting the floor, except every group we put them in, every person we put a student with went up in production. And why did it go up in production? The two things. One, employees are happy to show what they know how to do. And if an employee is happy, they work harder. Two, they were racing to get to some of the more complicated things. They wanted to show these students that it's not all just come in and lay a straight weld. It's the reach back through non-dominant hand, upside down. You can't believe some engineer designed this. They were racing to get to things. So the current employees, they welcomed it. Our union welcomed it. They came out, they met with the students, they talked to the students, they go to other union meetings and they talk about it and they help get it into other union shops. And the students we found out they want to learn more. They come from schools and they say, oh, my teacher taught me to do it this way. And we go, well, that's great in a book, but this is how we do it in real life. So they want to learn more. And we found out they have strong skills. They just need some technical help. They need to be able to take it from the book, from the classroom, and put it into the shop floor environment. And with the students we helped, I would like been saying we, but they did it. Their behavioral competency is developed. The first week or two is always a struggle. They come in, they think it's still school. They quickly realize it's not school, it's serious. They need to be serious because it can be a potentially dangerous place. But they come in, they figure out how to respect each other, the environment, and their other coworkers. A lot of our students, when they come in, if their start time is 7 a.m., they're there at 6:45. Anything after 6:45, the students will tell you they are late. What high school student do you know? What 17-year-old kid do you know that says 15 minutes early is late? And to add to that, one of my first years, we had a student called with a flat tire, said, James, I'm gonna be late. I looked at the time, it was like 10 minutes till. I said, relax, you still have 10 minutes. He goes, no, I'm late. I'm supposed to be there 15 minutes early. He's freaked out because he's not there early. That's behavioral competencies. We also do other things with their behavioral. We teach these students in this program to be able to present to anybody. We've had our students present to the UAW leadership. We've had our students present to the John Deere leadership. And they present just like they're presenting in front of their normal peers. A lot of people think, why would you teach a welder how to present? Because they need to know how to communicate. It's hard for me to say because I wasn't the best student when I was in school, but learning how to communicate has been one of the strongest things I've ever learned how to do. Communicate with your supervisors what's going on, why is this part not fitting, or what may make this part better, what may increase your pay. But to be able to communicate without fear, without worried somebody's going to make fun of you, we teach them to communicate. When we're all done with these students, they are ready to enter the workforce 100%. They will come in, they know how to be on time, they know how to show up, they know how to get the job done, they know how to communicate back if something's going wrong. and that's huge. I tell you, I would take any one of those first 9 that the Quad City started with as my coworker for the next 25 years at any moment. The next 12 that we have going through right now, can't wait to see how they develop. They're coming in next. Thanks, David.
Yeah, thanks, James. Awesome. Any questions for James from anyone?
No, David, really, that was huge. The last 15 minutes of you discussing just the HR policies and what James said, that has answered so many questions for me, and really, I think has strengthened my narrative as somebody in the Clinton region who goes out and continues to promote these programs. Thank you for that.
You bet. And here's a list, Scott. Hopefully this answers your question. Here are the top 10 questions, and we call it the Getting to Yes document of why you as a business can do this. And those first 2 were specifically about age and insurance. And then James covered a bunch of other things in here. And we'll send this out in, of course, the presentation, but in a separate PDF to show that. So Scott, that answered your question earlier?
It does. Thanks, David.
Okay, so the meat of today. And if you're interested in gaining a sustainable local talent pipeline, send an email to J.R. Kuch, the principal at Clinton. They got students right now that are ready and willing and ready to enter these programs.
And I do have a question, David. As we started building the welding apprenticeship program at Clinton High, we had a lot of companies come to us and say, but I don't have a 100% welding operation. What I need is a maintenance professional. So in your time working with the high schools and the community colleges, is there some flexibility to designing the core competencies around skill sets that are not just welding, but maybe incorporate like basic electric, et cetera?
There are. So we're expanding upon this. Right now, Andy, what I'm telling you is that Clinton has a program that supports the welding competencies ready to go. Now, what we're seeing is some of these students may choose to be a welder. Some may choose to do something else and go into a different program. We're working on a number of different competencies, development of programs that expand beyond welding. So for instance here, and I'll get to this on the next slide, in the Quad Cities, we've added this year CNC machining out of Moline High School. And this is completely where you can base it upon one and develop that program that you want. The next thing that we're working on is a basic introduction, so not as rigorous as a apprentice program from hours or competencies. So we're working on a quality pre-apprentice program that can lead potential candidates into a formal apprentice program or positions for advanced manufacturing. And within that equals basic understanding of electrical, hydraulics, assembly, torque control, etc. with that. That is a Detroit-based Ignite, nationally accredited program. We're actually going to pilot this program in Waterloo starting in January 2021. And we're going to pilot it with 8 students, and we expect to expand that to a number of different communities with that. That is led by the community college, in this case, Hawkeye, in looking at it. So the immediate request is if you have a need for welding, you have a high school program that's ready to support this. We'd ask businesses, if you're interested in doing this, participate in that 2021 planning, meet with the school, set up that meeting cadence, right, and target that work-based learning event really start upon completion of the high school in May time period. If you need any help, call us. And the one advice that I'd give you here is start small. If you're uncertain of it, bring in 1 student. That's a start, and then you can learn from there and then try to grow it. I think the key point that we've learned is these students are generally ready to come in and add value to your business and organization right away, and you can play a critical role of developing them to meet your needs into the future. And then also you can have that sustainable kind of pipeline ready to go, because you got first rights on that student too, so you're not going to lose them when they come out or go somewhere else, because you've already established that relationship with them, and we're seeing that as a huge advantage for businesses.
So David, do you get a lot of pushback from companies saying, "Oh yeah, that's all great. You're John Deere. You're the 800-pound gorilla in the state of Iowa. What about me? I'm just a small, 50-man shop." Do you get pushback like that? And if so, how do they deal with that?
Yeah, we get a little bit of pushback on that. The biggest pushback we get is just the uncertainty. It will literally be, I think we can't do that in our company because they have to be 18 or older. And we say that's not true, right? It ain't going through that. Scott, we do, James and I, we're specifically working on this to help support and grow this for the school districts and for other John Deere units. You don't need this as a business, this type of support. All you really need is a mentor, have a mentor that's going to be there, and just the willingness to support this student, right, and coming in and doing that. The administration is very minimal, and it's really set up in that relationship with the students. And if James has a problem or something going on, calls the instructor, and usually sometimes parents will get involved. It gets fixed right away. So it does not take much from an administration standpoint for businesses to do this. And that's the beauty of these programs. It's really streamlined and minimized. But what it does require is that engagement and the opportunity for the businesses to do it.
I think the other thing that is really super beneficial is that now you as a business have a say in how your workforce starts to look in the future. It's pretty incredible that you have that opportunity. Usually, I think in the past, probably we felt like we were victims of whatever the schools put out, and now we're leading that charge.
Yeah, let me show you this here real quick, and I'll jump around a little bit, Scott. Bill Gates does a lot of work, and he supports these programs. And I saw this video of a shop in Tennessee that he has this, and I pulled two main themes from this. If you're a local company, this is a more efficient way to foster talent from your local community. Instead of these students, right? So it's a win-win situation. It's a win for the business because it's more efficient for you to do that. And then these students, it's a huge win for them because they get this opportunity, and there are a lot of hardworking folks that are looking for someone to believe in them. And you don't lose them for X amount of years, and then they try to come back into this. You're latching them right on through this type of program and developing them. And the needs are completely flexible, and it can vary, and you can change the standards or the way the program's set up by establishing and talking through that with the school administrators. So the true success of this program are local high schools meeting with small local businesses to make this work. And if they can gain 1, 2, 3 students and gain that pipeline, establish that relationship, I truly believe it equals a sustainable talent pipeline for those areas that could even expand into different programs, et cetera, with this.
David, I have a question for you and Andy. This is Daryl Hogue, Superintendent of Riverbend Schools.
Hey, sir. How you doing? You've
Great.
heard me a couple times.
Yeah. Just as a side note, I want to follow up because we've got some things going on in the Sauk region. We'd like to dig into this a little more. Andy and David, in the Clinton region, what are the barriers? I know Tim or JT Cullen has signed on board. Is it not having the businesses for these students to go to? Because I know we're getting closer. We hope next year that we can, through EICC, sort of enroll some Fulton high school students into the program. Why aren't more businesses on board? Are we just not promoting enough, selling enough? How can we, the school and community leaders, sort of build this promotion?
Yeah,
well, I would say, go ahead, David. I'll let you go first.
Dr. Hogue, I would tell you the number one reason right now, the bottleneck of this the growth of these programs are business opportunities for the students.
Gotcha.
There are more students in the pipeline than business opportunities. And the reason for that is typically around question number one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I will echo that. I mean, that was our huge hurdle with one of the additional companies that we have now in both states, Iowa and Illinois. It continues to be a concern of theirs. The other thing is, as this is a pilot program, I believe those companies who were kind of lukewarm, ready to dip their toes in the water, are actually waiting to see how this all pans out. The pandemic didn't really help us, because we're kind of throttling things back and we're going to a more virtual education method here, at least here in Iowa. But what I expect is going to happen is, as we start to highlight the success of the one student that we do have in the program and the willingness of that employer to continue to foster their growth as an apprentice, and the success that they have now attracting a new employee is going to have a ripple effect, and it's going to definitely be word of mouth. So like we started small, one student, one business, but I do intend to grow this. And I do think it's going to be successful for the entire region. The other thing I will say, and I've mentioned this in the past, is we don't have a lot of companies that have a 100% welding operation like John Deere or like JT Cullen or Timken Drive. So they're looking for kind of more of a hybrid program. And we've been in talks with Clinton High and Eastern Iowa Community College about what that would look like to try to branch off the welding and create some kind of maintenance program as well. And you guys play a role in that over at Riverbend too, because you have a great electrical program, which we would love to be able to tap into at some point as well.
Andy, I'd like to say that over at the Blongs Tech Center, the EI's Eastern Iowa Community College Tech Center, Tyson's is sponsoring a program for maintenance engineers. So Clinton Community College should be able to dip into their experience there and see what it takes to put something together there. Yeah. But I agree that the store covers, although we're dominated by John Deere, we cover 15 counties in Iowa and Illinois, and while welding might be some interest, there's more interest in trainables that can do the things the engineers tell people to do.
Yeah.
They got enough engineers, they don't have enough technicians.
Right. Oh, thank you, Dylan. I appreciate that. And it is all about collaboration. So the synergies between the business partners, the community college, and the high schools really is work. And then also having the parents supporting the students that are interested in this profession. So I appreciate your comments.
So Andy, let me take a step back on why welding and CNC machining, right? One, their needs for us, okay? And two, the schools already have these programs in place. So if you look at Davenport, North Scott, Rock Island, and Clinton, they have these weld programs. It was very easy for them to meet the standards required as part of a sponsorship to do that. What gets complicated with an electrician, that requires, the high schools can't support that, and we know that. So that's not the preferred path when it comes to that type of level. Now, we also, and like I talked about earlier, having this basic understanding of manufacturing to include electronics, electrical work, etc. with that, we're going to pilot that program because we see that as a huge potential filler for pre-apprentice programs and to get into some of these. So typically your community colleges will have either sponsored by a company, or they'll have their own a pathway for those types of different community cases like this with electricians or something like that. And I'm not here to tell you that high school is the only one, but I'm telling you it's an opportunity that you can use. And we even had folks come through the welding and go into like a sheet metal apprentice program. So don't let it limit you on starting that of where that student can go. But it's a start for them to get into the door and understand that, and they can change. We don't expect all 9, and we already know this. They're not going to be all welders, right? Some are going to be engineers. Some are going to, and I took that slide out. Some are going to be, maintenance professionals. Some are going to do all types of different things, and it's really up to them. But what this does is it gets them grounded and gets them kind of aware of what those opportunities are.
Yeah, Scott brought up an interesting request in the chat. If you're on the line and you are a business and you don't have to be directly involved with welding, but if you're a business owner or a supervisor and you have questions, please chime in. Or if you just have comments regarding the concept of registered welding apprenticeships program or apprenticeships in general through the high school, we'd love to hear your opinion, because we are creating these opportunities for the students, but mostly for you to sustain and grow your workforce in the future.
Guys, I would just like to add on to what David said. The welding and the CNC and even the future assembly when we're going to start out in Waterloo, all this really does is expose manufacturing. We go to schools. I go to schools all the time. And last year I was at Buffalo School in Iowa presenting to kindergartners. And I was scared when the kindergartners could tell me what augmented reality was, as I barely know what it is or understand what it is. But none of them knew what welding was. So great for that school. I love that school is teaching these kindergartners to code, but nobody's talking about assembling, manufacturing. So these kids are going through school thinking they have to go to college. We've all heard it. College equals success. You have to go to college. That's not a true statement. And if we don't start getting these kids to understand, we're failing as companies, as community leaders, community people just out there. We have to start doing this manufacturing. So as David said, this is just what the school is showing. Some schools have an auto shop or wood shop. We're just following along with what the high schools have and exposing. So if we started with 9 kids in the Quad Cities last year, those 9 kids, if they each went out and only talked to 2 of their friends, it just doubled, tripled. This year we're doing 12 in just our building. It just keeps expanding. It's all about creating the awareness of manufacturing instead of sitting back and waiting for just the welders or just the maintenance. The other thing, the electricians are great. We need electricians. I'm pretty sure we have some open recs at Deere. If you know any, send them our way. But as a shop floor worker, I'd rather have somebody come in as a welder, an assembler, a parts kitter, and have Deere open up the apprenticeship for an electrician, for a maintenance repairman. Because my understanding of it, and please, anybody college, correct me, there's not a lot of people going into the community colleges to become a shop electrician. You usually have to have a sponsorship somewhere. It's pretty expensive to do it on your own. Most companies are doing it internal.
Yeah. A couple programs that hold hands nicely with this. And David, if you don't have any more slides, if you do, you can continue sharing your screen. If not, feel free to drop it so we can see more of the individuals that are participating.
Okay.
One of the programs that holds hands nicely with this is a manufacturing awareness program that we co-sponsored with Eastern Iowa Community College. And I will drop the link here in the chat box. But the cool thing with the manufacturing awareness program through EICC is there is really no potential pitfalls or barriers to entry for a student. It is 100% online, and it is free because we have corporate sponsorships. And what it does is it provides a student with 25 hours of manufacturing focused education to include assembly, supply chain, some basic electric type stuff, forklift safety, and really gets their foot into the door to manufacturing with, again, zero barriers to entry. So I'll put a link in the chat to that program, but that holds hands nicely with the welding apprenticeship program in high school, because what we've seen most recently is we have a lot of high school students registering for this manufacturing awareness program because they're interested in manufacturing, and it's a great way to introduce them to the apprenticeships that exist as well.
Yeah, Andy, I'd like to expand upon. So we had 9 students in the Quad Cities pilot program, 4 businesses last year. This year, as of last week, we are now at 29 students in the midst of a pandemic. 29 students at 9 different businesses, maybe even 10, to include 4 now high schools, and 3 of them for welding and 1 for CNC. I'm telling you, it's amazing to see it, and I think this is a great opportunity for the Clinton region to step up on and to be part of this.
Absolutely. Scott, I'm going to take the time to turn it over to you. And really, you're kind of, as a consultant, boots on the ground out there working with companies like I am. What are you hearing from companies regarding their workforce other than we need more people? And what seems to be I know there's no magic seed or cure for workforce development moving forward. This is a great component of it. But what are you seeing as a professional engaging companies?
So one of the things that we're doing, and I've started to use this phrase a lot, is, this is a make versus buy, a build versus buy on your workforce. Most companies are out there looking for somebody who's fully competent to come in, and they're paying top dollar for that individual. And in a lot of cases, that individual's not really qualified to do the work. Whereas with apprenticeship, what you're doing is you're now hiring for potential, ability to learn, and some of those softer skills, as we call them. And you can bring in, it opens a much wider variety of folks to working in your facility, because you're going to teach them the technical skills the way that you want. And so you're starting out at a lower rate. You're building your workforce, and that's what David's really talking about, is reaching back into the high schools and building your workforce from there. One of the organizations in Iowa is a John Deere dealer, and they have done exceptionally well working with their high schools on filling their needs for technicians. And so the objective there is they wanted to be able to connect earlier and get their hands onto those individuals so that somebody else didn't get them. And frequently what we hear in manufacturing for years is that it's not sexy, it's not what people want to go into. People think it's dirty and dark and all of those things. And we've used that as an excuse. Frequently, what I think that we're finding now is it's not that they have a misperception, it's that they just don't know about manufacturing, don't understand it. It's not what they see on TV. Everybody wants to be a doctor, a fireman, a cop, and that's what they see every day. So with manufacturing now, you have an opportunity to reach back and get a hold of those kids and expose them to this. And it's a pretty exciting career. I mean, you look, there's a few of us on here who've been in it for a long time, and we're old gray-haired guys, and there's some opportunity for younger folks to come in and take over with that. I see Mark asked a question about, getting parents to buy into this over college. And I have to tell you, Mark, one of the things I was going to say when James was talking about this earlier is it's not this over college. You're not precluded from college either later in life. You saw on one of David's slides that you can also get an associate's degree as a part of this. And what this does, I don't know how many parents are sitting out there helping their kids pay off student loan debt. This keeps you from coming out of school with student loan debt. You can take your school over a longer period. You're earning while you learn. And that's really the beauty of apprenticeship and the whole concept of how we do things. So it's highly structured. You're earning money while you're learning. It turns into a job. And if you want to go to college later, go to college. Nothing stops anybody from doing that. And this is a money game for the parents. You can't really afford to send your kid off to college anymore. I know David was making the drive back from college yesterday, and he knows the pain.
Yeah. Here's another pitch for a program that we're extremely happy with here in the greater Clinton region is we have a student loan payback program. So if you do incur debt, whether it's for a 4-year degree or 2-year degree, or you go and receive a certificate and you move to Clinton County, the county will contribute $1 a day towards the payback of your student loan debt, and the municipality will also match that dollar. So as a minimum, $2 a day towards the payback of your student loan debt here in Clinton County. So that's something we call the Clinton County Community Student Loan Assistance Program. And it's another reason to relocate to the community, and it ties in nicely with all the programming that we're talking about today.
So, Andy, you bring up a really good point. There is a lot of money swirling around apprenticeship these days. I know that the state of Iowa used about, $10 million worth of CARES Act funding that had to be spent before the end of the year that they put out, and you could buy equipment for apprenticeships, and there was any number of things you could do. The contract that I'm working on through JFF, we've got incentive funds for manufacturers. When you set up an apprenticeship program, we can provide some incentive funds. In addition to that, I know David is going to share about some other funding as well. But you look around the country and you see state after state, they have tax incentives. They have $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 for students who go to school and to help pay for that. So there's enormous ability to help to get this paid for. I would never say to an employer that the reason to do this is for the money. The reason to do this is to build up your workforce and to have a good, fully competent, qualified workforce. But gosh, having some money to help you pay for it and to get it started, there's nothing wrong with that. And you don't want all of the money to go to the big companies. Let it go to those of us who are smaller manufacturers. And that really will benefit you.
I'd also like to add in on Mark's question. So what we did at Davenport Works, we simply took it right out of our contract book. We put a one-page together that shows exactly what starting wages are from the assembler to a welder, machine operator, up through some of our maintenance, electricians, machine maintenance. And then on top of that, not just the starting wages, we put the other benefits, the health, the medical, the retirement, the 2/3 tuition reimbursement if they decide to go on to college after working for Deere for a year. And we hand that to everyone. We hand it to students, we hand it to teachers, to counselors, and to parents, because we knew that was one of our 3 main focuses starting out. We had to get the teachers and we had to get the parents to at least open their eyes to this manufacturing world. So that was a big thing for us. If you can get a couple companies in your area to just make a nice little one-pager or even a pamphlet, the criteria it takes to become a welder at your shop, but a one-pager with starting wages and benefits, huge. Parents see that, teachers see that. I can't tell you how many people have looked at that and said, that's more than I make. That's how you get the parents and then also some teachers on board.
That's a great recommendation.
Hey, everyone, this is, so Mark, thanks for your question, and what Scott and James said is right on. One other thing here, and what we visually show the students and the parents about this paradigm, because remember, we're actually not even talking about it anymore, because there's so many students that want to be engaged in this because we've been able to do this. It's phenomenal to see. And this is an actual representation of a production employee. And there's a value proposition that goes along with this that Scott and James talked about. And it's about debt, right? And debt avoidance, and having the companies reimburse that, and getting paid to do this and grow within all the different things, elements of this. And what this is in yellow, that a machinist came into work, did some additional duties. They don't get paid for that, but do some different opportunities to give them some experience, and then they got promoted in this case to a salary in person, and then continue to grow up the management ladder. All of that with reimbursement for their degree at the community college or a 4-year college from the company. So,
hey, David, advance your slides to show that.
Oh, I thought I did. Sorry. Go with me. Okay, where am I at?
I think we might need an IT apprentice. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I could use
Am I
one. I
there
don't know.
now or not? Can you see
No,
that?
you're still on Jordan Weldon. First slide.
I don't know what to say. I have trouble sharing in Teams. Okay.
No worries, sir. For those that are watching, I will definitely make your slide deck available, as well as I dropped in the chat a little handy one sheet that kind of highlights some of our major talking points today, and also some points of contact should you be interested in kicking off an apprenticeship program within your company, leveraging the high school apprenticeship and bringing on a student.
Yeah, let me try to show it real quick here.
And David, one of the questions that I would have if I was sitting on here as an employer, welding right now, are there other options? Are there other jobs that Iowa is looking at for youth apprenticeship? What else is out there beyond welding?
Yes.
Oh.
So here's what I would tell you. If you have a need, call your local school and see if they can meet it. So IT is a big one. Technicians. So these type of repair technicians, right? So that's a big opportunity there, etc. with it. So I can't figure this out. Sorry.
No worries, sir. No worries. Just to answer a little bit Scott's question, I think Daryl Hogue's on the line. Daryl's phenomenal at bringing in and collaborating with the businesses, as well as bringing in the community partners, the educational partners together to have these conversations. And that's really what it takes. You can't sit back behind your desk as a company and complain about workforce without reaching out to somebody and sharing that concern, and then engaging the K through 12s, the community colleges, four-year colleges that are available in the area, or people like myself, economic development professionals, or the Chamber of Commerce, because we're all battling it. You're not alone in this. I guarantee you, I walk into every company, what we talk about most is workforce. There's not one company that I walk into and says, I'm good, I don't need anybody. That they don't exist. That everybody's out there looking for the development of their future workforce. So come and ask us for help and allow us the opportunity to bring in that collaborative group of professionals to meet your demands. And I'm going to jump off my soapbox now.
So, Andy, another thing too is medical CNAs is another widely beyond manufacturing. There's tons of opportunities. In the state of Iowa right now, I think there's 22 high school programs expanding to 34 with over 131 different students already right now. So there's a plethora of opportunities, and really, Andy, another key contact, Greer Sisson from the Department of Labor. If you have a need, she can tell you if there's a program that already exists and can give you the draft standards literally within like 10 minutes.
Yep.
It's crazy. So, and that gives you a starting point to see if that meets your needs.
There we go.
All right. Thank you. James, is that you?
Well, who else is on the line that would have that slide, David? Yeah, that's the slide David was talking about. Person came in at the $20 an hour to start with. CI rep is a floor rep that talks about just different improvements, non-traditional roles, something like I do. It falls somewhere between salary and wage. Usually wage gets it done better. While they were doing those roles, they were using the tuition reimbursement program to go back, get their 2/3 reimbursement. They got their degree. They became a production scheduler, so fairly low end of our salary workforce. But as you can see, that person, this is a true person in the Deere chain, has just gone up. Started at 43. They're well over 80 now. I do believe this chart is at least 6 months old. They're actually off the chart now. So that is one of many stories of employees coming up. Deere, a lot of companies, they like to hire within and move up. 2 years ago, Davenport brought in 400 new wage personnel. We brought in 3 new salary. Everybody else came from the floor up. And that seems to be a trend for a lot of companies.
Yeah. So we are 5 minutes from the full hour here in our presentation. I want to make sure that we leave time open for questions. Is there anybody that's listening to this presentation that has a question for either David, James, or Scott? Hearing none. All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. Hold on, we have somebody typing in chat, but I do want to take this time to thank you for meeting with us today. I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. You guys have been extremely supportive of our efforts here in Clinton, so again, thank you for that. You serve as great points of contact. I will include all of your information when I send out an email blast that includes the replay of this video. But we enjoy your passion for apprenticeship, and we also enjoy your passion for workforce development throughout the greater Clinton region. So thank you again for being on the show. Head nods.
Yeah, thank you.
Andy.
Yeah, thank you, Andy.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are welcome. All right, happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanksgiving.